The number one thing you should be looking at if you're looking at buying an investment property that you're probably not thinking about. Okay, so if you're new to the channel, I'm a mortgage lender licensed in 48 states. My team's one of the top purchase teams in America. Look, I deal with investors every single day trying to find the next property that's gonna make them money. And myself, I have bought investment properties, sold them, done the landlord thing, done it all. Here is the one thing that I think people should be thinking about, and I don't think most are. So if you're an investor looking to purchase a home, the number one thing you should do is check out the state and local laws. That's right. Okay. And you're like, what? Why? Simple. There's certain parts of the country where they're going to cap how much you can do rental increases. And like, look, am I a proponent of doing a 50% rental increase or some of that nasty stuff we saw during COVID? No. But would I personally buy a rental property where I couldn't increase the rent more than 4% a year? No. And I'm going to tell you why. Depending on where you are in the country, homeowners insurance is going up in many cases more than 4% a year, right? And the cost of maintaining the house, it can increase. And if you're capped, it limits your ability to make sure that your investment is cash flowing. And what we're seeing more and more of is we're seeing, whether it's a town or a state, put some sort of rental restriction or cap in. So that's something I would definitely be looking at. I would be looking at the state laws when it comes to being a landlord. I would also, because you want to know everything beyond the caps, you want to know what your rights are as a landlord. If you have someone in that property that's not paying, how quick can you get them out? That's important. What's the process to get them out? Are you going to have to wait 90 days and get a lawyer? And is it going to be expensive? How brutal is it for you, the landlord, to get someone out if they are not paying? That's a very important question and one that you need to know. Now, the other thing that I think is really important that I think people miss out on, and this comes to short-term rentals. So short-term rentals, look, everybody wants an Airbnb. We've seen all the stories on Instagram, right? There's like 900 guys that are like, I do Airbnbs, I make $1 billion. Here's my Lamborghini, I'm a Lambro. Like, here's my hot girlfriend and her sister, Becca. Like, it's a whole vibe on Instagram. Drop it in the comments if you've seen that. And here's the thing that people aren't considering. There's a lot of rules and there's a lot of areas against Airbnb. And that's what you need to look at is people often are buying property without knowing if it's actually legal to Airbnb it there. There's cities and towns where it is banned. It is banned. There are no short-term rentals. It is 30 days or more, right? And you're like, wait, what? Yeah, it's a thing. And it's really common that you can't do Airbnbs in certain areas. Like right now, I'm in Sonoma County. Well, guess what? There's so many parts of Sonoma counties where you cannot have an Airbnb, like most of it, right? And you're like, well, wait a second, but I own the house. Why is it their business if someone's coming here? They made it their business. That's the thing. So it's like you want to look at what the legislation is beyond that, because if you're like, okay, Jen, I checked. It's good for Airbnbs. It's okay. I just have to get this permit. Everybody gets a permit. There's no special rules. I checked all the boards. Great. I want you to go to the town meeting notes for the last 2 years. Whatever information you can get, I want you to get as much information as possible. Because when we see towns ban Airbnb, there's generally a good amount of chatter about it for a couple years before it passes. So, I think about Palm Springs. Palm Springs was a huge Airbnb market. Then the chatter started, it got banned, and now you have a bunch of people that can't rent out their properties. There's some who can because they had a grandfather type clause, but there's others where suddenly they have a property where a long-term renter isn't going to cash flow the place. So that's incredibly important. If you're looking at a property and you're like, I want to Airbnb it, a long-term renter will never cover this mortgage. It has to be Airbnb or VRBO. You need to make sure it's legal in your area. So really important that you do that. overall, just a quick video. These are the things that I go, hey, did you check this? Did you check this? Because look, as an investor, I can tell you, there's certain areas I would not buy a rental property in 12 zillion years, even if it cash flowed, because the amount of restrictions on the landlord make it so the tenant has more rights than I do. And if I'm the one ultimately stuck with the bill, I want to have the most say, you know? And if I was ever looking for an Airbnb, man, with the stuff that I've seen over the years where it was allowed and it's not allowed, and now people can't pay those mortgages and they're losing those houses, you know, I would be looking for an area where it is very accepted. There's no chatter about getting rid of it. You know, the town's for it. And then I would also be making sure it's not oversaturated and checking the vacancy levels. So look, questions, comments. If you need help with a mortgage, reach out. But I wanted to bring that to your attention because it's very important if you're looking at buying an investment property.